Shahada, later slain by his oldest brother Jehoram. 2ch21. 2-4. 5. One of the princes of Judah who, on securing King Zedekiah's permission to kill Jeremiah, had him thrown into a cistern. Son of Mattan. J38. 1-6, 10. 6. Founder of a family in Israel of which 372 males returned to Jerusalem with Zerubbabel in 537 BCE and 80 more, O textoi acute miritra longo. Shepa, Mount 924 when compared with the much higher central mountain range. The Shephelah was bordered by the Negev on the SJG1. 9 and the mountainous region of Israel beyond the low plain of Ajalon on the Njos 11. 16. The valleys that divide the rolling foothills of this region served as natural routes for EW travel. The Shephelah is fertile, and a temperate climate prevails there. Anciently the region was noted for its many sycamore trees and olive groves. It also provided pasturage for flocks and herds. 1 Chi 10. 27. 1 Ch 27. 28. 2 Ch 1. 15. 9. 27. 26. 10. The Shephelah associated with the mountainous region of Israel Jos 11. 16 is perhaps the hilly region between the mountains of Samaria and the plain of Sharon. This area is narrower and less distinct than the Judean Shephelah. There is no basis for viewing the distinction between Judah and Israel in the 11th chapter of Joshua c. verses 21 as an anachronism. A footnote in a commentary by C.F. Keel and F. Delitzsch observes, the distinction may be explained without difficulty even from the circumstances of Joshua's own time. Judah and the double tribe of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh received their inheritance by lot before any of the others. But whilst the tribe of Judah proceeded into the territory allotted to them in the south, all the other tribes still remained in Gilgal. And even at a later period, when Ephraim and Manasseh were in their possessions, all Israel, with the exception of Judah, was still encamped at Shiloh. Moreover, the two parts of the nation were now separated by the territory which was afterwards assigned to the tribe of Benjamin, but had no owner at this time. And in addition to this, the altar, tabernacle, and Ark of the Covenant were in the midst of Joseph and the other tribes that were still assembled at Shiloh. Commentary on the Old Testament, 1973, Volume 2, Joshua, pages 124, 125. Shepa, Mount Shepha. A mountain on the Sinai Peninsula at which Israel had a campsite. New 33. 23, 24. Shepherd. A person who tends, feeds, and guards sheep or flocks of both sheep and goats. GE 30. 35, 36. Mount 25. 32. Sea sheep. The occupation of shepherds dates back to Adam's son Abel. GE 4. To although looked upon honorably elsewhere, in agricultural Egypt shepherds were viewed with disdain. GE 46. 34. Often the owner, his children both sons and daughters, or another relative cared for the flock. GE 29. 9. 30. 31. 1 16. 11 Among the wealthy, as in Nabal's case, servants worked as shepherds, and there may have been a chief or principal shepherd over the others. 1 21. 7. 25. 7, 14-17 When the owner or members of his family shepherded the animals, the flock usually fared well. But a hired man did not always have the same personal interest in the flock, which therefore suffered at times. Joe 10. 12, 13. The shepherd's equipment might include a tent. Issa 38. 12. A garment in which he could wrap himself. Joe 43. 12. A rod and a sling for defense, a bag for keeping provisions of food. 1 17. 40. PS 23. 4. And a long curved staff or crook used in guiding the flock. 27. 32. Mix 7. 14. Nomadic shepherds, like Abraham, dwelled in tents and moved about from one location to another to find pasturage for their flocks. GE 13. 2, 3, 18 However, At times the owner of the animals remained at a certain location, his home or base camp, whereas his servants or some family members traveled with the flock. GE 37. 12-17. 1 Sir 25. 2, 3, 7, 15, 16. Do sheep really know the voice of their particular shepherd? The flocks of several shepherds were sometimes penned in the same sheepfold for the night, with a doorkeeper to watch over them. When the shepherds arrived, text to acute miritra longo, Cherubia 925 to point out the way, but to see that it is practicable and safe. The Land and the Book, revised by J. Grand, 1910, p. 179. Similarly, J. L. Porter, in The Giant Cities of Bashan and Syria's Holy Places, observes, the shepherds led their flocks forth from the gates of the city. They were in full view, and we watched them and listened to them with no little interest. Thousands of sheep and goats were there, grouped in dense, confused masses. The shepherds stood together until all came out. Then they separated, each shepherd taking a different path, and uttering as he advanced a shrill peculiar call. The sheep heard them. At first the masses swayed and moved, as if shaken by some internal convulsion. Then points struck out in the direction taken by the shepherds. These became longer and longer until the confused masses were resolved into long, living streams, flowing after their leaders. 1868, p. 45. In the evening the shepherd brought the animals back to the sheepfold, where he stationed himself at the door and counted the sheep as they passed beneath his crook or his hands. Law 27. 32. J 33. 13. See sheepfold. A rigorous life. The shepherd's life was not an easy one. He was exposed to both heat and cold, as well as to sleepless nights. GE 31. 40. Lu 2. 8. With personal danger to himself, he protected the flock from predators, such as lions, wolves, and bears, as well as from thieves. GE 31. 39. 1 Sir 17. 34-36. Issa 31. 4. and 3. 12. Joe 10. 10-12. The shepherd had to keep the flock from scattering. 1 Car 22. 17. Look for lost sheep. Lu 15. 4. Carry feeble or weary lambs in his bosom. Issa 40. 11. And care for the sick and injured. Bandaging broken limbs and rubbing injuries with olive oil. PS 23. 5. S 34. 3, 4. Zek 11. 16. He had to exercise care when shepherding news giving suck. GE 33. 13. Daily, generally around noon, the shepherd watered the flock. GE 29. 3, 7, 8. If the animals were watered at wells, gutters in the ground or troughs had to be filled with water. X2. 16-19. Compare GE 24. 20. At the wells there sometimes were unpleasant encounters with other shepherds. GE 26. 20, 21. The shepherd was entitled to a share of the flock's produce. 1 Co 9. 7, and often his wages were paid in animals. GE 30. 28, 31-33. 31. 41, although sometimes also in money. Zek 11. 7, 12. He might have to make compensation for losses. GE 31. 39, but under the law covenant no compensation was required for an animal torn by a wild beast. X 22. 13. What has been said concerning the shepherd can generally be applied to the herdsman. However, the occupation of herdsman was not restricted to tending sheep and goats. There were also herders of cattle, asses, camels, and swine. GE 12. 16. 13. 7, 8. Mount 8. 32, 33. Figurative and illustrative. Jehovah is a shepherd who lovingly cares for his sheep, that is, his people. PS 23. 1-6. 80. 1. J 31. 10. S34. 11-16. 1 Pe 2. 25 His Son Jesus Christ is the Great Shepherd. Hub 13. 20 And the Chief Shepherd, under whose direction the overseers in Christian congregations shepherd the flock of God, willingly, unselfishly, and eagerly. 1 Pe 5. 2-4 Jesus referred to himself as the Fine Shepherd, one who really has compassion for the sheep and demonstrated this by surrendering his soul in their behalf. Joe 10. 11. See Mount 9. 36. But as foretold, the striking of the Fine Shepherd caused the flock to scatter. Zech 13. 7. Mount 26. 31. In the Bible, the term shepherds at times denotes the rulers and leaders of the Israelites, both faithful and unfaithful. Issa 63. 11. Jah 23. 1-4. 50. 6. S 34. 2-10. Compare New 27. 16-18. PS 78. 70-72. Similarly, the term shepherds applies to leaders of other nations. Jah 25. 34-36. 49. 19. Nah 3. 18. Compare Issa 44. 28. At Jeremiah 6. 3, the shepherds seem to represent the commanders of invading armies. The presence of shepherds with their flocks figures in a picture of restoration. Jah 33. O textoi acute miritra longo, Sheresh 926 Journey to Jerusalem in 468 BCE is right. 17. 18 He is probably the same person as the chief of the priests mentioned in Ezra 8. 24. One of those entrusted with transporting to Jerusalem the valuable things contributed for temple use. Ezra 8. 25-30. 3. Elvito assisted Ezra with reading and explaining the law to the people assembled in Jerusalem after the wall was rebuilt in 455 BCE and 8. 2, 7, 8 Later the same month, they again convened and Sherebiah joined in proposing a trustworthy arrangement, which the nation ratified, promising to remain faithfully to Jehovah. NE 9. 1, 4, 5, 38 This Sherebiah may have been the same Levite as No. 2. Personally attesting to the covenant, or he may have been a representative of some family by that name, perhaps descended from number 1. NE 10. 1, 9, 12. 12. 24. Sheresh Root. A descendant of Manasseh and son of Mecca by his wife Maacah. 1 Ch 7. 14, 16. Shishak. Probably a symbolic name for Babylon. Jah 25. 26. 51. 41 One suggestion is that Shishak means copper-gated, and this would fit Babylon. Still another view is that Shishak stood for Siskaki of an old Babylonian royal register. Sisku or Siska may have been a district of ancient Babylon. Jewish tradition, however, has it that Shishak is a cipher for the Hebrew name Babel or Babylon, by the device known as Athbash. According to this cryptographic system, the true name is disguised by replacing the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet or with the first Aleph, and the second last letter Shin with the second Beit, and so on. Consequently, in Babel each Beit B would be changed to Shinsh, and the Lamidel to Kaf Kh, thus becoming She middle. Shake. The name Shishak may also imply humiliation, for which Babylon was due. Jah 25. 26, FTN. Cincino Books of the Bible, edited by A. Cohen, London, 1949. Shishai. Brother of Ahiman and Olamai. New 13. 22. Joes 15. 14. JG 1. 10. Seahiman number 1. Shishan. A descendant of Judah through Dramiel. Shishan had no sons and so gave his daughter probably Ale in marriage to his slave Jara in order to continue his line of descent. 1 Ch 2. 31, 34, 35. Shishbazar Shishmiddle. Bazar. an appointee of King Cyrus over the first exiles returning from Babylon. As he led the Jews back, Sheshbazzar brought with him the gold and silver utensils that Nebuchadnezzar had looted from the temple. On arrival in Jerusalem, he laid the foundations of the second temple. As 1. 7-11. 5. 14-16. Opinion is somewhat divided as to whether Sheshbazzar was the same person as Governor Zerubbabel or was some other individual. Shenazar the son of King Jehoiachin mentioned at 1 Chronicles 3:18 is suggested by some in view of the resemblance between the two names, as well as Sheshbazzar's title Prince of Judah appearing in some versions of Ezra 1:8. As RS this theory is very weak, however, for the resemblance in names is not great, and Zerubbabel, the grandson of Jehoiachin, had just as much claim to the title Prince Chieftain, NW of Judah as an offspring of the first generation. Some modern scholars, in attempting to identify Sheshbazzar and Zerubbabel as separate individuals, say that Cyrus first appointed Sheshbazzar as governor, but that later Sheshbazzar was succeeded by Zerubbabel during the reign of Darius, and therefore the building of the temple is credited to Zerubbabel. A great likelihood, it appears, is that Sheshbazzar is the same as Zerubbabel, and the majority of scholars and reference works so connect the names. Note these points of comparison. In general, what is attributed to Sheshbazzar in the two passages where he is mentioned by name is elsewhere in effect credited to Zerubbabel. Both are called by the title governor. As 1. 11. 2. 1, 2. 5. 2, 14, 16. Hag 1. 1, 14. 2. 2, 21. Zech 4. 9 Zerubbabel is acknowledged as leader of the returning exiles. O textoi acute miritra longo, Sheol 927 and others to Jerusalem to register their objections to the Jews rebuilding the temple, which work Artaxerxes had banned. However, the Jews kept working in spite of the complaints, while a report was made to Darius. Tatenai and Shethar-bozenai and his colleagues wrote to the king reporting on the activities in Jerusalem and stating that the temple builders had referred to an order of authorization that had been put through by Cyrus the king. They asked that the matter be investigated. Darius' reply acknowledged Cyrus' unchangeable decree and not only ordered Shethar-bozenai and his comrades to keep their distance from Jerusalem but also demanded, under severe penalty, that material support be provided from the royal treasury for the Jews so that their temple building and services could continue. Shethar-bozenai and his associates did as commanded. As 4. 23. 6. 13. Shiva 1. From the root meaning make equal. Smooth out. Father of Macbenna and Gibi. As these are possibly names of towns, however, Shiva was perhaps the father of those who settled there, or was himself the founder of these towns. Shiva's father Caleb Chilupe headed one of the three major divisions of Judah's descendants through Hezron. 1 Ch 2. 9, 48-50. 2. David's secretary. 2 Sa 20. 25. Caesarea 2. Shiba-Shebaroth. Or, 7. A well that Isaac's servants dug, or a dug, at Beersheba. GE 26. 32, 33. Compare 26. 18. They reported finding water there after concluding a covenant of peace with Abimelech the king of Gerar. Hence, Isaac named the well Shiba, referring to an oath or statement sworn to by 7 things. GE 26. 26-33 Abraham had similarly made a covenant with Abimelech, either this Philistine king or another having the same name or title. On that occasion Abimelech accepted 7 female lambs from the patriarch in evidence of Abraham's title to a controversial well, perhaps the same one that Isaac later named Shiba. By using Shiba, another form of the name Sheba, Isaac also apparently was preserving the name Beersheba, originally given to this place by Abraham. GE 21. 22-32. See Beersheba. Shibboleth Shib by middle.leth. The pass was used by the men of Gilead to identify Ephraimites who tried to flee across the Jordan. It means ear of grain or flowing stream. Escaping Ephraimites, during their conflict with Jephthah, gave themselves away to the Gileadite sentries at the fords of the Jordan by mispronouncing the initial sh sound of this password. They would say Sibboleth. JG 12. 4-6 Thus, it is evident that some variation of pronunciation existed among the tribes, even as in later times the Galileans had a manner of speech distinct from the Judeans. Compare Mount 26. 73. Lu 22. 59. Shield. See arms, armor. Shihor from Egyptian, meaning pond of horrors. Evidently the eastmost branch of the Nile River in the Delta region. Shior, in its 4 occurrences in the Hebrew text, is always associated with Egypt. Jos 13. 3, branch of the Nile. 1ch 13. 5, river. Issa 23. 3. Ch2. 18 While some commentators would equate it with the torrent valley of Egypt New 34. 5, usually identified with the Wadi al-Arish, Sov Gaza, Jeremiah 2. 18 and Isaiah 23. 3 appear to link it more closely with Egypt and the Nile than was the case with this latter torrent valley, or Wadi. Particularly the Isaiah text with its reference to the seed of Shior would seem to apply to a regularly flowing stream Ha rather than to a seasonal one Achel. For these reasons the Shior, at least in these 2 texts, is more often identified with the eastmost arm of the Nile after it divides into several branches upon reaching the Delta region. This position might allow for its being referred to as in front of, that is, on the E of or to the E of Egypt, as at Joshua 13. 3. This latter text, however, forms part of the description of the O textoi acute muritra longo Sheol Ibnath 928 covenant up to Jerusalem and the congregating of the people in Solomon's day from the entering in of Hamath down to the torrent valley of Egypt. 1ch 13. 5. 1 Chi 8. 65 The explanation for this may be that in the latter case Solomon's time the account gives the practical boundaries of Israelite residence. The region between the Wadi al-Arish and the eastern arm of the Nile is basically desert territory and scrubland, so this Wadi, or torrent valley, fittingly marked the limit of territory suitable for Israelite inhabitation, whereas in the former case David's the description may be that of the entire region of Israelite activity, the region effectively dominated by David, which indeed ran to the border of Egypt. Even prior to David, King Saul had pursued the Amalekites as far as Shur, which is in front of Egypt 1:15. 7, and the dominion Solomon received through David is stated to have reached to the boundary of Egypt. 1 Chi 4. 21 So, even though the territory actually distributed to the Israelite tribes did not extend beyond the torrent valley of Egypt, this would not appear to argue against the identification of the Sheol with a branch of the Nile at Joshua 13. 3 and the river of Egypt at 1 Chronicles 13. 5. The word Sheol does not occur at Genesis 15. 18, where Jehovah promised Abraham the land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. So, here also, there is a question as to whether the river formed Ha of Egypt refers to some part of the Nile or to the torrent valley Nachel of Egypt, the Wadi al-Arish. The answer would depend upon whether Jehovah here described the actual area distributed as a tribal inheritance or referred to the whole region dominated by the Israelite kingdom at its greatest extent. If the former, then this text would likely apply to the Wadi al-Arish. If the latter, then to the Sheol. See Egypt, torrent valley of Sheol Ibnath. Eusebius and Jerome believe Sheol Ibnath originally constituted the name of 2 sites, Sheol and Labernath. However, it is apparently a river on Asher's boundary. Jos 19. 24-26 Some geographers connect the Sheol Ibnath with the Nahal Tananim, which flows into the Mediterranean Sea about 10 km 6 ms of Dor. Shikon Shikei Middle.ron. A site on the boundary of Judah. Jos 15. 1, 11 Some tentatively identify it with Tel El-Ful, about 5 km 3 MW of Ekong, but El-Makana Tel-Mikn, with which it is mentioned in the Joshua account. Shili Shilhai, father of Azubah, who was Asa's wife and the mother of Jehoshaphat. 1 Chi 22. 41-43. 2 Ch 20. 31. Shilhim, a city in the southern part of Judah. Jos 15. 21, 32 It seems to be the same as Shirah, listed among the cities in Judah's territory belonging to Simeon. Jos 19. 1-6 The list at 1 Chronicles 4. 31 appears to call the same city Sha'araim. Tel El Farah Tel Shirah, about 35 kilometers 22 MW of Beersheba, is tentatively identified with it. Shilem from a root meaning make peace. Compensate. Repay. Last named of Naphtali's 4 sons listed among the names of Israel's sons who came into Egypt. Ge 46. 8-24 He founded the tribal family of Shilemites. New 26. 49-50 at 1 Chronicles 7. 13 His name is spelled Shalom in the Masoretic text, though Shilem is found in 7 Hebrew manuscripts. Shiloh Middle Sender. It appears that the name Shiloh designated a conduit or canal at Jerusalem. One ancient canal ran from the mouth of the cave of the Gihon spring down the Kidron Valley and around the end of this hill to a pool at the junction of the Hinnom and Tyropian valleys. The canal's gradient of about 4 or 5 mm per meter less than 0.2 inches per yard produced a slow gentle flow, a feature that would fit the waters of the Shiloh that are going gently. The reference to these waters of Otextoi acute Miritra Longo, Shilonite 929 in the centuries that followed. Jesus Christ is the only descendant of David to whom kingship was promised. Before the birth of Jesus, the angel Gabriel said to Mary, Jehovah God will give him the throne of David his father, and he will rule as king over the house of Jacob forever, and there will be no end of his kingdom. Luke 1. 32-33 Therefore, Shiloh must be Jesus Christ, the line that is of the tribe of Judah. 5. Compare Isra 11. 10. Row 15. 12. Concerning the ancient Jewish view of Genesis 49. 10. A commentary edited by F.C. Cook P. 233 notes. All Jewish antiquity referred the prophecy to Messiah. Thus the Targum of Enkelos has until the Messiah come, whose is the kingdom. The Jerusalem Targum, until the time that the King Messiah shall come, whose is the kingdom. So the Babylonian Talmud Sanhedrim, Cap. 2. Fol. 982, What is Messiah's name? His name is Shiloh, for it is written, until Shiloh come. 2. A city located in the territory of Ephraim and north of Bethel, toward the east of the highway that goes up from Bethel to Shechem and toward the south of Lebanon. JG 21. 19 The generally accepted identification for Shiloh is Batsalon Shiloh, about 15 kilometers 9.5 mi of Bethel. The site fits the biblical description. It occupies a hillland, with the exception of a valley on the is surrounded by higher hills. After the tabernacle was set up at Shiloh Jos 18. 1. The apportioning of the land to the Israelites was completed from there. Jos 18. 1. 21. 42 Following the division of the land, the tribes east of the Jordan erected an altar by that river. Viewing this as an act of apostasy, the other tribes assembled at Shiloh to fight against them. However, when it was explained that the altar was to be a memorial of faithfulness to Jehovah, peaceful relations were maintained. Jos 22. 10-34. At a later time, 12,000 valiant Israelite warriors undertook punitive action against the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead for failing to join in the fight against the Benjamites. However, 400 virgins of Jabesh Gilead were brought to Shiloh and later given to the Benjamites. The Benjamites were also instructed to get other wives from the daughters of Shiloh, carrying them off by force as the women participated in the circle dances associated with the yearly festival to Jehovah held at Shiloh. JG 21. 8-23. During most, if not all, of the period covered by the Book of Judges, the tabernacle remained at Shiloh. JG 18. 31. Once a 1. 3, 9, 24. 2. 14. 3. 21. 1 Kai 2. 27 Shortly before High Priest Eli's death, the Israelites, while fighting the Philistines, removed the ark from the tabernacle and transferred it to the battlefield, trusting in its presence to give them victory. However, Jehovah allowed the Philistines to capture the ark. As it was never returned to Shiloh, this signified that Jehovah had forsaken Shiloh, since the ark represented his presence. 1-4. 2-11 The forsaking of Shiloh is alluded to by the psalmist PS 78. 60, 61. Compare 1-4. 21, 22 and is used in Jeremiah's prophecy to illustrate what Jehovah was going to do to the temple at Jerusalem. Jer 7. 12, 14. 26. 6, 9. In the 10th century BCE the prophet Ahijah lived at Shiloh. 1 Kai 12. 15. 14. 2, 4 After the assassination of Gedaliah, in 607 BCE certain men from Shiloh, either from the city or the region, came to Jerusalem to sacrifice. Jer 41. 5. Shilonite Shiloh middle dot night of belonging to Shiloh. 1. An alternate form used in the plural for the name of the family that sprang from Judah's third son Shelah. 1 Ch 9. 5. Ge 46. 12. See Shilano. 2. Shilonites. Shiloh. Its desolate condition was used by Jeremiah as a vivid example. Shilshah 930, 2. An inhabitant of Shiloh, a town of quite some prominence in Israel's history. The designation is applied in scripture only to the prophet Ahijah from Shiloh. 1 Kai 11. 29. 12. 15. 15. 29. 2 Ch 9. 29. 10. 15. Shilshah 3rd. 3 parts. A valiant, mighty chieftain in the tribe of Asher. Son or descendant of Zophar. 1 Ch 7. 36, 37, 40. Shemi middle dot possibly a shortened form of Shemaiah, meaning Jehovah has heard listened. 1. Amorite Levite. 1 Ch 6. 29, 30. 2. Ancestor of temple musician Asaph in the Levitical family of Gershom. 1 Ch 6. 1, 39, 43. X 6. 16. 3. The third son of Jesse, hence an older brother of David. 1 Ch 2. 13, 15. 20. 7. See Shammah 2. 4. A son born by Bathsheba to David. 1 Ch 3. 5 He is elsewhere called Shammua. 2 Sa 5. 14. 1 Ch 14. 4. Shemi middle dot possibly a shortened form of Shemaiah, meaning Jehovah has heard listened. 1. Son of Mikloth, a Benjamite related to King Saul's ancestors. Also called Shemim. 1 Ch 8. 32. 9. 35-39. 2. Another name for David's brother Shammah. 1 Sa 16. 9. 2 Sa 13. 3, 32. See Shammah 2. Shemi middle dot m. Son of Mikloth, who, it appears, lived in Jerusalem. This Benjamite was related to King Saul's ancestors. 1 Ch 9. 35-39 He is called Shemir at 1 Chronicles 8. 32. Shemi middle dot from a root meaning here. Listen. An Ammonite woman whose son was one of the assassins of Judah's king Jehoash. 2 Kai 12. 20, 21. 2 Ch 24. 25, 26. Shemitites Shemi middle dot ites. A Kenite family of scribes living at Jabez. What connection they have in the genealogies of Judah is unknown. 1 Ch 2. 55. Shemi middle dot I possibly a shortened form of Shemaiah, meaning Jehovah has heard listened. 1. Second named son of Gershom. Grandson of Levi. X 6. 16, 17. New 3. 17, 18. 1ch6. 16, 17. Several Shemite families of Levites descended from him. New 3. 21-26. 1ch23. 7, 10, 11. Zech 12. 13. 2. A Reubenite who was descendant Beerah, a chieftain, was taken into exile by Assyrian king Tilgath-Pilneser Tiglath-Pileser 3. 1ch5. 1, 4-6. 3. A Merarite Levite. 1ch6. 29. 4. A Gershonite Levite. Ancestor of Asaph. 1ch6. 39, 42. 5. A Benjamite whose 9 sons or descendants were heads of forefathers' houses living in Jerusalem. 1ch8. 1, 19-21, 28. He is apparently called Shema in 1 Chronicles 8. 13. They're identified as a family head in Ajalon. 6. A Simeonite, the son of Zakur. He had 16 sons and 6 daughters. 1ch4. 24-27. 7. One of David's brothers. 2 21. 21. See Shamano. 2. 8. A descendant of Gushan through Ladan. During David's reign, 3 sons or descendants of Shimei were heads of Levite families. 1ch23. 8, 9. 9. Head of the 10th division of Levite musicians. Son of Jeduthun. 1ch25. 1, 3, 17. 10. Caretaker of David's vineyards. Aramatite. 1ch27. 27. 11. A loyal supporter of King David who refused to join Adonijah's conspiracy. 1 Chi 8. He is presumably the same Shimei appointed as King Solomon's food deputy in Benjamin's territory. Son of Elah. 1 Chi 4. 7, 18. 12. A Benjamite from the village of the Urim. Shimei, the son of Gera, of a family in King Saul's house, harbored a grudge against David for years after Saul's death and the removal of the kingship from his house. Shimei found an occasion to vent his long-contained wrath when David and his party fled from Jerusalem on account of Absalom's rebellion. Just a little near the Mount of Olives, Shimei walked along throwing stones and dust down at them and cursing David. Abishai asked David's permission to kill Shimei, but David refused, hoping that perhaps Jehovah would turn Shimei's curse into a blessing. 2-16. 5-13. On David's return, with the situation reversed, Shimei and 1,000 other Benjamites were the first to meet him, Shimei bowing before him and making expression of repentance for his sins. Again Abishai wanted to kill him, but again David did not allow a text to execute Meritra Longo. Shimronites 931 leave the city. If he ever left the city, he would be put to death. Shimei agreed to these terms, but 3 years later he left the city to recover 2 of his slaves who had fled to Gath. On learning of this violation, Solomon called Shimei to account for breaking his oath to Jehovah and ordered Benaiah to execute him. 1 Chi 2. 36-46. 13. A Levite descendant of Heman who sanctified himself and helped dispose of the unclean objects removed from the temple at the beginning of Hezekiah's reign. 2ch 29. 12, 14-16. Probably the same as no. 14. 14. The Levite second in charge of storing the generous contributions and tithes brought to the temple during Hezekiah's reign. 2ch 31. 11-13. Probably identical with no. 13. 15. Ancestor of Mordecai. Tribe of Benjamin. As 2. 5. 16. Brother of Governor Zerubbabel. Descendant of David in the tribe of Judah. 1ch 3. 19. 17. One of the Levites who dismissed their foreign wives and sons when reprimanded by Ezra for having made foreign marriage alliances. As 10. 10, 11, 23, 44. 18, 19. 2 Israelites, sons of Hashum and Binwi respectively, who also sent away their foreign wives and sons. As 10. 33, 38, 44. Shemites Shimei Middle-ites of belonging to Shimei. Descendants of Shimei, the son of Gershon and the grandson of Levi. X 6. 16, 17 When the first census in the wilderness was taken, the Shemites and the Libnites, the families of the Gershonites, had registered ones totaling 7,500. New 3. 20b-22 The Shemites were encamped with the Libnites behind the tabernacle, that is, to the W as Gershonites. Their Levitical duties included transporting, directing, and maintaining the tabernacle and its coverings, as well as the hangings of the courtyard, the screens both to the entrance of the courtyard and to the tent, and the tent cords. X 26. 1, 7, 14, 36. 27. 9, 16. New 3. 23-26. Shimei had 4 sons. Jashath, Zena, Jeush, and Beri. But since the last 2 did not have many sons, they joined together to become a paternal house for one official class. This is mentioned in the time of David, when it appears that the assigned tabernacle service of the Shemites was divided among these 3 families. 1 Ch 23. 6, 7, 10, 11 Zechariah's prophecy especially included the family of the Shemites among those who wailed bitterly over the one whom they pierced, a prophecy relating to Jesus. Zech 12. 10-13. Joe 19. 37. Shimei and Shimei middle-on from a root meaning here. Listen. One of the 8 sons of Harim whom Ezra encouraged to dismiss their pagan wives and sons. As 10. 10, 11, 31, 32, 44. Shimon Shemunday. Father of 4 sons in the tribe of Judah. 1 Ch 4. 20. Shimrath from a root meaning guard. A Benjamite family head in Jerusalem. One of the 9 sons of Shimei. 1 Ch 8. 19-21, 28. Shimri from a root that means guard. 1. Simeonite ancestor of one of the chieftains who expanded the tribe's territory in the days of Hezekiah. 1 Ch 4. 24, 37-41. 2. Father of David's mighty man Jediel, and probably also of Joah his brother the Tizite. 1 Ch 11. 26, 45. 3. Amorite son of Hosah included among the Levite gatekeepers selected by lot to the assignment W of the sanctuary. Though Shimri was not Hosah's firstborn, his father appointed him head of the paternal house. 1 Ch 26. 10, 12, 13, 16. 4. One of the Levites who helped dispose of the unclean objects that Hezekiah had cleared out of the temple. Descendant of Elizaphan. 2 Ch 29. 12-16. Shimriath. A Moabitess whose son Jehozabad was one of the assassins of King Jehoash of Judah. 2 Ch 24. 25, 26 The name appears in the masculine gender of 2 Kings 12. 21. See Shomano. 2. Shimron. 1. Thornbush. The son of Issachar. G 46. 13. 1 Ch 7. When he was among Israel's sons who came into Egypt. His descendants, the Shimronites, formed one of the families of Issachar. G 46. 8. New 26. 23, 24. 2. From a root meaning Gardo textoi acute miritra longo, Shimron Miron 932 Shimron Miron. A town, the domain of a king defeated by Joshua. Jos 12. 7, 8, 20 It is perhaps the full name of the town Shimron, or possibly it is a reference to the fact that the king of Shimron was one of those defeated at the waters of Merom. Jos 11. 1, 5, 7, 8 Some manuscripts separate the names as being 2 towns, Shimron and Meron, but no place called Meron is elsewhere alluded to. Shimshai from a root meaning son. A scribe in the administration of Rehum, the chief government official of the Persian province beyond the river, which included Jerusalem. Shimshai joins in writing a letter to the Persian ruler Artaxerxes in an effort to stop the Jews from their rebuilding work in Jerusalem. Artaxerxes put through an order to stop the work, which was resumed during the reign of his successor, King Darius his despised Arasi of Persia. As for 8-24. Shin. See Sin, Shin. Shinab from Akkadion, meaning Sin the moon god is his father. King of Admah. One of 5 monarchs in the southern Dead Sea area whose rebellion against vassalage to Chedorlaomer was unsuccessful. GE 14. 1-10. Shina. The original name of the area between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers later called Babylonia. It was there that Nimrod assumed kingship over Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Karnak, and where construction of the Temple Tower of Babel was aborted. GE 10. 9, 10. 11. 2-8 later, the king of Shinar, Amraphel, was one of the confederates who took Abraham's nephew Lot captive. GE 14. 1, 9, 12. This territory was still called by its original name in the days of Joshua. Job 7. 21. It is referred to by the prophets Isaiah, Daniel, and Zechariah. Issar 11. 11. Dar 1. 2. Zech 5. 11. See Babel. Babylon no. 2. Shining 1. A descriptive designation applied to the king of Babylon. Issar 14. 4, 12. The Hebrew expression thus translated NW, ro, ig comes from a root meaning shine. Job 29. 3. The rendering Lucifer KJ, da is derived from the Latin Vulgate. The shining one is represented as saying in his heart, above the stars of God I shall lift up my throne, and I shall sit down upon the mountain of meeting. Issar 14. 13. Biblical evidence points to Mount Zion as the mountain of meeting. See mountain of meeting. Hence, since stars can refer to Kings New 24. 17. Re 22. 16. The stars of God must be the kings of the Davidic line who ruled from Mount Zion. The king of Babylon, the dynasty of Babylonian kings, reflecting the attitude of Satan, the god of this system of things, indicated his ambition to lift up his throne above the stars of God by desiring to make the kings of the line of David mere vassals, and then finally to dethrone them. Like stars that shed light, the king of Babylon shone brightly in the ancient world and could be termed Shining One. Shinshion from a root meaning crash in ruins. A city of Issachar. Jos 19. 17, 19. Owen Eshain, a short distance of Nazareth, may preserve the name Shin and has been tentatively identified with it. Ship. A relatively large seagoing vessel. The Bible generally makes only incidental mention of ships, shipping, and ship's gear, but it does afford some clues as to ships of biblical times. Other descriptions of ancient ships are derived from historical annals of various nations or from pictorial representations of merchant ships, marine battles, and so forth. Egyptian. Papyrus reeds, woven and lashed together, provided material for a wide variety of Egyptian boats. They ranged in size from small riverboats that could hold one or just a few hunters or fishermen, and that could be swiftly paddled along the Nile, to the large sailing vessel with upturned prow and the sturdiness to ply the open seas. The Ethiopians and the Babylonians likewise used reed vessels. Babylon also possessed a large fleet of galley ships. A relief at Medinet Habu depicts Otextoi acute Muritra Longo, ship 933 wood inlaid with ivory. The sail was of colored Egyptian linen, and the deck covering, perhaps an awning above the deck to provide shade, was of dyed wool. The ship's seams were caulked. As 27. 27. The Phoenicians were skilled sailors, carrying on extensive trade in the Mediterranean area, even going as far as Tarshish, probably Spain. It is believed by some that in time the term Tarshish ships, or ships of Tarshish, came to signify the type of ship used by the Phoenicians in trading with that distant point, that is, a seaworthy vessel able to make a long voyage. 1 Kai 22. 48. PS 48. 7. Issa 2. 16. Es 27. 25. Possibly Jonah fled on a ship of this type. It had a deck, allowing space in the hold for cargo and passengers. John 1. 3, 5. One of Sennacherib's sculptures portrays a Phoenician ship with a superstructure deck, a double bank of oars, a sail, and a screen around the upper deck on which shields were hung. The prow of this fighting ship was long and pointed. Hebrew ships. When settled in the Promised Land, Dan was spoken of as dwelling for a time in ships JG 5. 17, possibly referring to its assigned territory by the Philistine coast. Jos 19. 40, 41, 46. The territory of Asher was along the sea coast and included the cities of Tyre and Sidon, though there is no evidence that these cities were ever taken by Asher. The tribes of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Judah had territory along the Mediterranean coast, so that they, too, were quite familiar with ships. Jos 15. 1, 4. 16. 8. 17. 7, 10. Manasseh, Issachar, and Naphtali also held land on or near the Sea of Galilee. While Israel had apparently used boats from early times, Solomon was evidently the first ruler in Israel to put emphasis on commercial shipping. With the help of Hiram, he built a fleet of cargo ships that sailed from Ezion-Geber to Ophir. 1 Kai 9. 26-28. 10. 22. 2 Ch 8. 17, 18. 9. 21. These vessels were jointly manned by Israelites and experienced seamen from Tyre. Every 3 years the ships would come in with cargoes of gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. 1 Kai 9. 27. 10. 22. King Jehoshaphat of Judah later entered into a partnership with wicked King Ahijah of Israel in building ships at Ezion-Geber to send to Ophir for gold. But Jehovah warned him of his disapproval of the alliance. Accordingly, the ships were wrecked at Ezion-Geber, and Jehoshaphat apparently rejected a request by Ahijah to give the project a second try. 1 Kai 22. 48, 49. 2 Ch 20. 36, 37. During the 1st century CE and the 1st century CE numerous merchant ships of various types plied the waters of the Mediterranean. Some of them were coastal vessels, such as the boat from Adramyttium in which Paul, as a prisoner, sailed from Caesarea to Myra. Act 21. 1-6. 27. 2-5. However, the merchant ship that Paul boarded at Myra was a large ship carrying a cargo of wheat and a crew and passengers totaling 276 persons. Act 27. 37, 38. Josephus reports that he once sailed on a ship carrying 600. The Life, 15, 3. Paul had done much traveling in ships. He had experienced 3 shipwrecks prior to this journey. 2 Co 11. 25. The one he was on this time was a sailing ship that had a mainsail and foresail and was steered by 2 large oars located in the stern. Such ships often had a figurehead representing certain gods or goddesses. The ship that Paul boarded afterward had the figurehead sons of Zeus. Act 28. 11. A small boat, or skiff, was pulled behind the ship. It was used to get to shore when the ship was anchored near a coast. To prevent its being swamped or crushed, the skiff was hauled up during storms. In this voyage of Paul's, the violence of the storm that arose caused the sailors to undergird the ship. It was apparently the passing of ropes or chains under the hull from one side to the other to hold the ship together, lower the gear, evidently the rigging, dump the cargo of wheat overboard, throw away the tackling, and lash hotex to a acute muritra longo. Shippy 934 sometimes followed when riding out a gale. Act 27. 29, 30, 40. A sounding lead was used to determine the depth of the water. Act 27. 28. The Apostle Paul uses the term anchor figuratively when he speaks to his spiritual brothers in Christ, calling the hope set before them an anchor for the soul. Hope 6. 19. Compare F4. 13, 14. Ches 1. 6-8. Shippy Shiphi from a root that means abound. a Simeonite whose son was one of the tribal chieftains who extended their pasture grounds during Hezekiah's reign. 1 Ch 4. 24, 37-41. Shipmite possibly, of belonging to Shechem. The designation for Zabdi, David's manager of the wine supply. 1 Ch 27. 27 It could indicate that Zabdi came from either Sibmath 1 Sa 30. 28 or Shechem. New 34. 10, 11. Shipra are agreeable. Polished. Elegant. The Greek Septuagint reads Sepra in both Exodus 1. 15 and 2. 21. The Masoretic text, however, reads Shipra and Zipra respectively. The Aramaic form of the name is Sapira. Shipra was one of the Hebrew midwives who, together with Pa'ah, was commanded by Pharaoh to kill all the Hebrew male babies immediately at birth. Being a God-fearing woman, however, and having respect for the sanctity of human life Ge 6, she preserved the boy babies alive and was blessed by Jehovah with a family of her own. X 1. 15-21. See midwife. Shiptan Shiptan from a root meaning judge. Father of Kemuel, the chieftain representing Ephraim when the promised land was divided among the tribes of Israel. New 34. 17, 18, 24. Shisha. Father of Solomon's secretaries Elihareph and Ahijah. 1 Kai 4. 3. Caesareno. 2. Shishak. An Egyptian king that is known as Shishonkai from Egyptian records. Shishak, regarded as the founder of the Libyan dynasty, is generally credited with a rule of about 21 years. His son Asorkani succeeded him to the throne. When Jeroboam fled to Egypt to escape the wrath of King Solomon, Shishak ruled there. 1 Kai 11. 40-some years later, in the 5th year of Solomon's successor Rehoboam 993 BCE, Shishak invaded Judah with a mighty force of chariots and horsemen. He captured fortified cities in Judah and then came to Jerusalem. But Jehovah did not allow him to bring Jerusalem to ruin, for Rehoboam and the princes of Judah humbled themselves upon receiving a message from the prophet Shemaiah. Shishak, however, did strip the city of its treasures. 2 Ch 12. 1-12. There is archaeological evidence concerning Shishak's invading the area of Palestine. A fragment of a stele found at Megiddo mentions Shishak, possibly indicating that the stele was erected there to commemorate his victory. Ancient Near Eastern Texts, edited by J. Pritchard, 1974, pages 263, 264. Also, a relief on a temple wall at Karnak, the end part of the ancient Egyptian city of Thebes, lists numerous cities or villages that Shishak conquered. Picture, Volume 1, p. 952. Supplements to Vetus Testamentum, Leiden, 1957, Volume IV, pages 59, 60. A considerable number of the places that can be identified with biblical sites were located in the territory of the 10-tribe kingdom. This would indicate that the purpose of Shishak's campaign was, not to assist the 10-tribe kingdom, but to gain control of the important trade routes and thereby extend Egypt's power and influence. Shitri officer. A native of Sharon placed over the herds of David that grazed there. 1 Ch 27. 29. Shittim acacia trees. 1. A location on the desert plains of Moab to which the encampment of the Israelites extended from Beth Jeshimoth. New 25. 1. 33. 49. Jos 2. 1. Evidently Shittim is a shortened form of the name Abel Shittim, watercourse of the acacia trees. Some have identified it with Tel El Kafrain, a low hill about 8 kilometers 5 mi of Beth Jeshimoth Tel El Azimah, near the Eni corner of the Dead Sea. However, Tel El Hammam, a larger site occupying Otextoi Acute Muritra Longo, shouldered 935 immorality and idolatry. Jehovah brought Israel across the Jordan by a miracle, and at Gilgal he rolled away the reproach of Egypt. New 22. 4. 25. 8. 31. 3-11, 48-50. Jos 3. 1, 14-17. 5. 9. 2. If it designates a particular torrent valley, the torrent valley of the acacia trees Shittim may be the lower course of the torrent valley of Kidron. Joe 3. 18. Shiza Shiza. Reubenite father of David's warrior Adina.